Do you know how many mature women walk through this world unaware of how deeply desired they still are? And no, this has nothing to do with youth or makeup. I'm speaking of something time cannot erase, that quiet presence, that unique way of looking, listening, entering a space without trying, and yet still being felt. Yes, felt. Like a piece of music playing softly in the background, shifting the entire mood of the room, even if no one speaks of it. But here's the strange part. Many of these women don't see it. They think their glow has dimmed simply because the world no longer reflects it back to them. Because compliments are fewer. Because mirrors have grown colder. Because someone once attentive now walks past them as if they were air. But desire, true desire, has never belonged to the surface. It lives in something else. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And that's what this is about. This chapter, this entire video, isn't to remind you of what you once were. It's to awaken you to what you still are. Not despite your age, but because of it. There's a kind of magnetism that ripens with time. A presence that no longer asks for permission. A beauty that doesn't chase, because it knows it already is. Today we begin with the signs. Subtle, silent, but undeniable. Signs that even now, even in silence, you still turn heads, move hearts, and stir something men can't always name, but never forget. Let's begin. Sign 1. He gets nervous around you. You've likely seen it. A man who's usually composed suddenly stumbles over his words. He shifts in his chair, avoids too much eye contact, fiddles with his collar, or even forgets what he was about to say. And you might think he's not interested. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if he's too interested? So much so that your presence unsettles him. When a mature woman walks in with calm, grounded energy, when she speaks with clarity, moves with ease, and carries herself with quiet dignity, that can be more disarming than the loudest flirtation. He may not even understand what he's feeling, but you've entered his awareness like thunder behind glass. Powerful, contained, unmistakable. Sign 2. You receive compliments on the days you feel most invisible. Isn't it strange how, on the days you feel least radiant, someone still notices you? A smile, a compliment, a lingering look. You didn't try. You didn't dress to impress. You may have even felt tired, fragile, or worn. But somehow, that's when your truth showed up most fully. Because authenticity, that quiet self-possession, is breathtaking. Especially in a woman who no longer needs to be everything to everyone. There's something magnetic about a woman who isn't performing. You may not feel stunning, but that doesn't mean you're not. Sign 3. People glance back at you, and you don't even notice. The second glance. That's what matters. Not the polite glance as someone passes by, but the one that returns. You've walked by, and yet something in you lingered. That's not about what you wore. That's about what you are. We notice, even if you don't. Sign 4. Other women either admire you or feel strangely tense around you. You've likely experienced this too. Some women are drawn to you, they compliment you, want to be near you, even trust you. Others react defensively. They look at you longer than necessary. They make passive remarks. They seem unsettled. That's not about you doing anything wrong. That's about presence. You carry something that hasn't dimmed, something they feel and maybe fear. And it has nothing to do with being provocative. It has everything to do with being whole. Sign 5. Silence with you feels rich, not empty. Some people feel the need to fill silence. But when you sit across from someone and say nothing, and they still feel deeply seen, that's power. It's rare, and it's real. That kind of presence doesn't come from youth. It comes from depth. And men, we notice. We feel it, even if we can't explain it. Sign 6. You're remembered. Even when you try to disappear. You don't chase attention. You never have. But your absence is often louder than your presence. People remember how they felt around you. Safe, heard, stirred, seen. And they don't forget. Not because you performed, but because you stayed in their skin like a story that ends mid-sentence. Incomplete, but unforgettable. You might doubt all of this. And that's okay. You've been told, subtly or overtly, that your value was linked to youth, to beauty, to being needed. But here's the truth. None of that was ever the real source of your magnetism. What draws people in is your presence. Not what you give. Not how you look, but how you exist. This chapter is just the beginning. We'll explore more signs, some that might surprise you, others that will feel like being seen for the first time in years. And maybe, just maybe by the end of this, you'll begin to see what others have sensed all along. You are still deeply, profoundly desired. Not in spite of time, but because of what time revealed. And that, dear woman, is your power. Let's keep going. There comes a moment in a woman's life when she no longer moves to be seen. She moves because she has rhythm. And that rhythm, that deep, unapologetic grace, is one of the most magnetic forces in the world. It's not loud. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't shout, sparkle, or scream for attention. It hums. And that hum, it pulls people in. This chapter is for you if you've ever doubted your glow, your pull, your impact, simply because the world taught you to equate worth with youth. But magnetism? Magnetism belongs to those who own their rhythm. Sign 7. Men find reasons to talk to you about nothing. They ask you where you bought your scarf. They compliment your smile in the middle of a mundane conversation. They comment on the weather, the music, the coffee. They just want to be near you. When a man senses your energy, not the energy of performance, but of real presence, he may not know how to approach directly. So he'll use anything. A question, a comment, a small excuse to linger in your field. You may think he's just being polite. But listen, that politeness is often a cover, a way to stay close, to absorb a bit of your calm, your elegance, your quiet fire. Sign 8. You receive digital attention without trying. You post a photo, nothing extravagant. No filters, no provocative pose. Just you, natural, present, and the responses pour in. Because it's not about how much you reveal. It's about what you radiate. Even through a screen, your essence speaks. You are not selling anything. You are not seeking validation. You are simply being. And that energy? It travels. Sign 9. They remember your words, days, weeks, even years later. You said something once, maybe in passing. And later, someone brings it up, I never forgot what you said about. That's not just memory. That's impact. Your words stay because they're rooted in lived truth. You don't speak to impress. You speak to connect. And that kind of speech, that kind of wisdom, it doesn't disappear. It echoes. Sign 10. Your presence soothes, even when you don't say a word. In a world that runs fast, your stillness is medicine. There's something about sitting next to you that feels safe, gentle, grounding, not because you say the right thing, but because you are the right thing. When a woman has walked through storms, loss, change, heartbreak, and has remained soft, that softness becomes a sanctuary. And men, even the most hardened, feel it. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You never did. This chapter is about remembering that. You don't have to return to who you were. You've evolved into something far more nuanced. Your value isn't in being chosen. It's in knowing you don't have to chase. Your beauty isn't in defying age. It's in carrying it with elegance. And your desire, it's still alive. Not because someone confirms it, but because you begin to feel it again in your skin, your steps, your smile. You are not a fading light. You are a steady flame. Let's continue. There's a power that doesn't ask to be noticed. It simply is. And when a mature woman walks with that kind of presence, the room adjusts itself, not out of obligation, but instinct. In this chapter, we continue uncovering the signs that you are still deeply desired. Not for who you used to be, but for the depth you now carry. Sign 11. Men in relationships glance at you longer than they should. This isn't something you provoke. You're not inviting it. But it happens. You're at a dinner, a cafe, a family gathering. And there it is, that long, thoughtful look. From someone whose hand is already held by another. No words are spoken, but that glance is loud. And uncomfortable as it may feel, it tells a truth. There's something about you that stirs even what's already claimed. It's not about causing trouble. It's about recognizing that your energy carries a kind of gravity, and not everyone knows how to resist it. Sign 12. Your absence is felt more than your presence is praised. You don't need fanfare. You don't seek the spotlight. But when you leave, something shifts. The warmth dulls. The laughter softens. The atmosphere subtly changes. People may not say it aloud, but later, someone always does. It felt different when you weren't there. That is not coincidence. That is legacy, emotional presence that lingers. Bonus sign, silence with you isn't empty. It's electric. We've said this before, but it bears repeating. With you, silence doesn't demand escape. It invites depth. A man can sit beside you and feel more alive than in a room full of noise. Because you don't just speak, you resonate. And when silence feels safe, it becomes sacred. You are not invisible. You are undeniable. And if the world has gone quiet around you, it may only be because it doesn't know how to name the depth you've become. But deep down, they feel it. You are still desired. Not as you once were, but as only you can now be. Let's move forward. You were never meant to fade. You were meant to deepen. To evolve from flame to ember, quiet, steady, and just as capable of igniting everything around you. This final chapter is not a conclusion. It's a reflection. And it begins with this truth. Desire does not retire. It matures. You don't need permission to be felt. Your presence, the one you've cultivated through years of love, heartbreak, caregiving, silence, survival, it has become its own kind of magnetism. Not flashy, not loud, but undeniable. You are still watched, even when you're not looking. Still admired, even when no one says it. Still missed, even by those who didn't notice how much you mattered, until you weren't there. The woman you are now is not past her prime. She is her prime. Because now you don't chase. You don't perform. You don't need to fill silences or spaces to prove you belong. You belong everywhere you choose to be. And yes, you are still desired. By men. By life. By the quiet places inside you that are just now waking up again. So the next time someone looks at you longer than usual, the next time a smile lingers, the next time someone says, you have something about you, believe them, because it's not imagination, it's recognition. They're seeing what time has shaped, not erased. They're responding to what has always been there, waiting for you to notice too. You, in full, desired not in fragments, but in entirety. So if this message touched something in you, leave a comment. Tell your story. Share what you felt in silence. And remember, you are not too late. You are not too old. You are not invisible. You are the woman who still stirs hearts without speaking a word. If this reminded you of who you truly are, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join this space. Because here, you're always seen. And always felt. And if something in this message felt like truth, not a new one, but one you had simply forgotten, then stay with us. This space was created for women like you. Not to teach you who you are, but to remind you of what the world once made you forget. If this resonated, leave a comment. Say something you've held in silence. You'll find you're not alone. And if you felt seen here, click like, subscribe, and keep walking with us. Because every week, we open a quiet door to something deeper. To beauty that breathes, to desire that matures, to women who still light rooms without ever raising their voice. You're not just welcome here. You belong here.